Hi everybody. It has been a very long time since I've crafted anything at all, so this may not go as planned. However, if it does, this is, I'm going to say it, I hate saying this, but it's going to be a game changer for people. I'm going to do this first in UV resin, which I'll be using the normal clear hard type, low viscosity, Let's resin, UV resin, and the high viscosity UV resin. Now, the reason why I'm using both is I had thoughts, I don't know, somewhere around 4 months ago of what would happen. And I thought of it with epoxy first, okay? But I'm going to start off using the UV resin. Then I'm going to do, in this very video, one with epoxy. But I am going to fill a cavity, one of these hearts, with high viscosity UV resin. And I'm going to fill it as far as I think it's going to cure properly. I do have my double UV light at the side here. And what I'm going to do is mix some of the low viscosity UV resin in one of these with a little bit of ink so that there's color involved. And then I'm going to suck that up into this bottle with this needle. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because I'm then going to put this low viscosity colored resin into the hard or the high viscosity, and I'm going to inject color into that. And this is just to see how well that's going to work. The true experiment is going to be with the epoxy, and I'm going to do it on a small scale because, you know, waste not, want not. And so if it doesn't work, I won't be wasting a lot of products. I was going to use some of the UV or you know, the glow-in-the-dark powders, but I got to thinking about how small the orifice on this little needle tip is, and I don't think it would work very well at all getting it into there or back out. So we're going to go with the ink because the ink has a tendency to be a lot thinner. So I'm going to get things set up the rest of the way by getting these bottles with their pour caps on, and I'll be right back. Okay, caps are on. I'm going to use the low viscosity first so I can get it colored and let the alcohol dissipate from it. You remember, alcohol and UV resin doesn't always work well, so I don't need a whole lot, although I'm going to try 2 or 3 of these. Sorry, my hands are a little on the shaky side. My back has been having some problems, and so I shake a little bit now. And let's go ahead. I'm going to be using Hippo ink, alcohol ink, and this is sky blue, and it's a dye. It's not alcohol, sorry. It is a dye. So we're going to shake it up. Make sure it's thoroughly mixed. This is a very old batch. I've had this for over 2 years. We're just going to put one. Well, I'll put one in at first, and then we'll see how that stirs in and works. I'm not going to use this stick because I used that to try to get that foil cap off of both bottles. Though I didn't get any resin on it, I'm just making sure. Okay, so let's get this stirred in. I want it dark enough to cure and see at the same time. Did I put the correct one in? I think so. Just making sure. This seems a little thicker than most low viscosities I've ever used. Okay, I'm going to stick that just right here like I had the other one. Now I'm going to get the high viscosity out. And I'm going to fill this one. Very thick. Okay, yeah. Low viscosity in the blue. I'm trying to get a steady stream. And now I'm probably not going to fill these all the way. Now I do want to give time for these to settle and to pop any bubbles that show up. And I see a bubble right there, so then one on the bottom. I do want a fair amount in here. Now I can understand why people use high viscosity. I think this one needs a little bit more. Okay. All right, let me get this capped. Get these two bottles out of any kind of UV light that's going to go on. All right, let's get these bubbles burned off. Hot, 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 hot. I forgot to bring my long neck lighter out with me. Looks like I got them. Hey, look at that. For a change, I didn't dip my lighter into it. However, always wipe it to make sure. Okay. Now, comes the fun part. I'm just going to squeeze the bottle, get some air out, and then I'm going to reach in here all the way to the bottom and suck some up. Trying to do it slowly. And I do want to wipe this off because I don't want anything to show other than what I inject into it. Let's see, make sure there's something coming out. Well, no, there's not. Nothing got sucked in. Maybe doing it slow is the incorrect way. Let's try faster. All right, that may not work. I believe the tip is just too small. So what I'll do is, before I give up on this part and get a larger needle, because I don't have any larger bent tip. Hey, 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 hey. I need that cap to stay on, or the lid. I just need to pull this one off. There we go. Let's go ahead, squeeze, and draw in. Well, that's not working either. See, I can see into the tip of that. Okay, that's just not working. So I'm going to do what I was hoping not to have to do. There is some in there, but not enough. So what I'm going to do is take this cap, this lid off, and we're going to go ahead and pour this into the bottle. Set it down for a half a second. Get the stick and scrape it down in there, if I don't knock the bottle over. Okay. Now, because I may have to reuse this, I'm going to set it out of the way of any sunlight and UV light. Get this lid back on. Going to try to keep it at a certain angle. Keep that resin closer to the tip. Okay, that is in there. Now we're going to grab this and put it back on. All right. Going to let that drain down in. Sorry, I'm trying to get to see if it's all gotten down to that tip yet. It must have, because I see some draining down. All right, here we go. We're going to try with this side, because the other one I noticed keep it at a pressure to keep as many bubbles out of this as possible. Okay, now into this one. And no, I'm not pouring in any particular pattern. Okay, now I'm just going to pour what's left into just one of these. It's definitely coming out nicely, so that will work. I think it has to have the back pressure of everything. Now what I'm doing is I'm trying to see if the ink or the colorant UV resin will possibly not spread out. If it does, that's fine too. Oh my goodness. It's a lot of pressure on the hand. And that's the sound that says, okay, it's pretty close to done. Okay, gonna wipe this off. Put it out of the way of any UV light, so that hopefully I can clean that needle tip and bottle. And no, I'm not wearing my gloves because my arthritis has been real bad and the gloves are tight, and I need to get large gloves. These are mediums. The other size I have are my husband's size, and they are extra large. So yeah, way too big for the situation. Okay, let's get the bubbles popped here. So far I'm not seeing any adverse reaction from the two resins together. Might have to pop that a different way. Okay, so I think I got the bubbles in position where I can pop them now, hopefully. It's not as easy to get the high viscosity to pop. All right, I'm just going to have to deal with those bubbles. We're just going to see if it works, okay? Let's load it up. I'm going to put it on for only a few seconds at a time at first, so that it doesn't cause the resin to heat up too fast. I've got it on 60 seconds for right now, but I'm going to stop it at about 10. I'm trying to keep that away from my eyes. Okay, I'm stopping it at 20. Okay, give it a moment. I let it cool a little bit in between. This also helps to keep your project from bowing, because UV resin has a tendency to take thin molds and make them curl. Okay, here we go again. And yes, I decided to try to do this in real time, so that you all can be part of that. if you use this, if it works and you use this technique, I would really greatly appreciate you giving me credit for it. There are many things I've done over the last 2 years that people are using that, you know, well, they saw it somewhere. I would prefer to get the credit this time around. Thank you. Everybody else gives everybody else that credit. I give the people that I see doing these things that credit. And it's only fair. Okay, another. Sorry, went way past. Okay, that so far is at a minute at 3 times 20-second cures. All right, that should be at the point where I can now make sure there's no waves. There's a few waves, and that's because the ink that was put in, the dye. Those things thin things out, and so you will end up getting waves. All right, I'm going to put that on for a minute. I do have to find something to cover that because that hurts my eyes. There we go. As long as I'm not able to look directly at it. I'm sorry there's no music, but there soon shall be. I do have something I would like to show you all in a separate video that I got at what I'm only going to say was an estate sale. They called it a yard sale. I call it an estate sale because they were selling all the person's belongings out of that home. Okay. Let's just see, is this curing up? It is. Not sticky. So I'm going to put it on for another 3 minutes. I will pause you to do that because, well, 3 minutes is 3 minutes long. Okay, back in a second. Okay. Fully cured. They're still a little hot, but they can start cooling down while I do the rest of this. In order to see them properly, but first I'm going to bring it up to you before I do the backing. As you can see, it stayed primarily where I wanted it. Now the reason why I used high and low viscosity UV resin is that you need a thickness to the main resin, which means if I were to use epoxy, and I'll show you that when I do the epoxy one, that you want your epoxy to thicken a little bit and then mix a new batch of epoxy and then inject it, just like I just did here. So let's go ahead and let that cool while I get some white mixed up. Now, I do have white alcohol ink, but for this purpose, I'm just going to use all Let's Resin products except for the Hipu dye. And what I'm going to be using is the white from Let's Resin mica powder set. It's not ever been opened, so I'm tapping it down to make sure I get it away from the cap. And of course you do not use a lot of this. And I figure white would be the best way to see this. And yes, I'm going to finish it off with UV resin, but with the low viscosity. So let's go ahead, put a little bit in. And I'm not going to use a whole lot of this because I do want it to cure. But I need it white enough to be able to see the injected resin. That should be plenty. So let's get it stirred in. And mica powders are more dense, more opaque than inks are. Now it says white, but usually all white mica powders have a silver base to them. Might have used a little too much. I can thin it out, and then I just make some white hearts. What do you think? Yeah, we'll just add a little bit more resin and make some white hearts. I mean, we do have this blue one right there. That ought to look pretty. So I'll just add some more. Thin it out some. And this is me testing out their brand also of the UV resin. I've tested out so many others, and most are the same. They act the same, they smell the same. Oops. I'll have to clean up that little drop. That was just the powder itself come up on there. I do like mica powders because mica powders seem to have this beautiful little marbly swirl to them. Here, let me pull that aside for a second. Get this wiped up. I don't want to spread it. I am doing all of this in my living room right now at my desk because my bedroom is a little not temperature regulated at this time. Still think that's a little bit too opaque. So just a little bit more. Fill it to the brim as much as I can here and go with that. Whoops. Get it all stirred in, mixed in. Okay. That looks like it's going to do. And it looks like there's a hair on my stick. Yeah, it is. There, got that pulled off. Okay, so let's get the backing done. Aha, it's pouring over the back. Yay! And I might have to do this a little layer at a time to fill it. Because of the opacity. All right, let's get a fresh wipe out. So I can place this on it. Hey, that's an idea. We'll put some in this one. Okay. Now to put this out of the way so it doesn't get any UV light. Scrape this down in there a little bit. Well, it wasn't a hair, it was part of the baby wipe. Because these sticks, one day I'm just going to take these sticks and I'm going to start putting UV resin on them and curing them so that they're not all splintery. All right, we're going to stick this in. I'm going to put it on low at first, you know, a few seconds at a time, like I did with the other. And get this out of the way. So I'll be back as soon as this is cured up. Okay, I cured this all up for 6 minutes total. Just to make sure. I didn't even take them out, but they are hard. And I decided, well, this one started off white. This one started off with blue. So what I wanted to do is this. We're going to top this one off with the blue. Try the dome. Not even close. Not yet. But I want to get this one filled in as much as possible as well. Now this should cure pretty well because it's really translucent. I figure, you know, might as well make them pretty. Okay, that's about it for that. It's not quite full, but it's full enough. And the same thing with the other one. So I'm going to wipe that off so it doesn't drip anywhere. course, I'll cure it to pull the rest of it out. And then we're going to go ahead and get this white finished out. Onto here. Hopefully, I can get one of them completed. That one looks like it's going to do. Now, mind you, my desk here is not level. And what I need to do is scrape the rest of that out. Got to remember which stick I was using for these kinds of things. Okay. That looks good. Oh, goody, hiccups. You can tell I'm nervous about how these are going to turn out. Oops, that was the used ones. Okay, I'm going to get this in there to cure up. And I'll be back. Okay, now for the big reveal, right? Well, we're going to go with this one here. It should be the most cured, period. Still feels slightly sticky, so I'll put it on here to finish. It was quite thick, so this one here was layered better. Oh, those turned out pretty cool. I like those. What do y'all think about those? I know they weren't the primary target of this little experiment, but let's get this in here. So I know I gotta cure that. Okay, let's check these out. Okay, this one's got the least amount in it, so it should be thoroughly cured after doing layers. And then we're going to pull this one out as well. Yes, they're cured. Okay. So, are we ready? Let's pull this little piece off. And here we go. I don't know how well you can see that. Now, it might work better with the epoxy because you can go a lot darker. But I do believe that was a successful venture into injection art for resin. And there's a trap bubble down in there. But either way, it did turn out. Okay, Next up is the epoxy resin, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do that on a different video. I do notice it. There was, it's not a bubble, but there's like a chip feeling there. The different layers are fine. But that one's got that little chip out, like something got stuck in the mold. But I don't see anything stuck in the mold. So it might have been curing too fast. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let y'all go. Thank you very much for coming to see my adventure in experimentation. And as I said, please give me the credit for it. I'd appreciate it very much. Because you didn't just see it somewhere on the internet. And believe me, I did a lot of research to make sure nobody else has done this. A lot of people don't do the research, and then they basically are repeating somebody else's experiment without knowing it. I have to do the research. I have to give credit where credit is due. That is my biggest thing. All right, everybody. Yeah, I'll get off my harpsichord here. And love y'all. I hope it was an enjoyable situation. And there's a huge Temu haul coming up, by the way. And it's not just Temu. It is Amazon. It is Temu. It is local yard sale type stuff. But you're going to enjoy it, honest. It'll be long, but you're going to enjoy it. Now, I might break it up because, wow, there's a lot of time getting this done. So, yeah, be patient with me. Love to all. Peace out.